There are a few more things that we need to look at in order to get a complete picture of TREEBARD and what it can do. And after this final movie in the tour series, I'm going to start another series of videos in which I will go through the errors and missing features and broken features that need to be fixed, and I will fix them for you. I will show you how I do it, and you'll see the code. However, I will not be putting out free code anymore. I think I mentioned that on the blog. What I'm going to do instead is I'm going to make the new exe and the new source code available to people who make a donation of any size. In other words, if you can afford to pay $10 to get the newest version of the source code, then donate $10 and I'll send you a link to the latest source code. But I'm still not going to have this backwards compatibility thing. I will never do that because there's only one of me, and I want there to be one version of TREEBARD, and that is the most current version. There is going to be a compromise on that principle in that you will get the latest version of the free TREEBARD off of the website, treebard.com, download.html. But if you want the one with everything fixed and working, treebard.com, donate.html. That's how it's going to work from now on. But if you can afford to pay $10 billion for my full-time work, approximately 16,000 hours over the past 6 years, by all means, I'm willing to receive. Anyway, that's enough on that topic. Let's get going on the tour video. I wanted to mention a little bit about the sample tree. There is a story here on the very first family that you open up with person number 1, Jeremiah Lawrence Grimaldo. The story is told in the notes, and so don't delete anything on this first family here. In order to get out of this family, what you do is you change to Ronnie Webb and you go into other parents. Because over here in the Lumley division, there's nothing here that you can't delete or change. In fact, there's nothing at all that you can't delete or change. I'm just saying, if you like my story, which is told in the notes, then leave this first family alone. And get to the many, many adjunct people who exist in this tree through Ronnie Webb's foster parents. It's a good story. I mean, it would make a good movie, like a Coen Brothers movie or something, or a Woody Allen movie. Maybe he already made that movie with, what's his name? Sean Penn as the guitar player. Sweet and Low Down, I believe is the name of that movie. First thing I want to show you is GEDCOM export. We're going to export the sample tree to a .ged file. Here is the main app. Let's export sample tree. Which name shall I use today? Export is done. That's how long it takes. Now you go into your file manager, go into your TREEBARD folder, etc. Sample tree GED. This is going to have a date stamp on it. That's today, 8/14, August 14, 7:38 a.m. Okay, let's open it up. That is a GEDCOM file. There's something wrong with this file. That's something else we're going to fix in the next series. Our GEDCOM export is not working. First clue was the blank line. Second clue was no trailer on the end. And third clue was it should have been thousands of lines long, in spite of the fact that it only takes a second to create. So there's something wrong with our export. I don't know when that happened. Oh, there you go. Well, I'm going to fix that in the next series. The next series of movies is going to be about going to the next level. We'll take the finished version, which is the version that's for free and open source, and then we're going to fix the problems that have been coming up during this tour series. And then if you want to make a donation, you can get the source code and a current exe And the code is still open source, so you're not paying for something that you can't use. You can use it. It's still open source. It's still do what you want. It's still unlicensed. It's just that it's not going to be totally free anymore. Let's try importing some GEDCOM now. This is going to go to that same folder, that etc. folder in the Treebard directory. This is the one I use. This is the one I use during development. And when I use a different one, I always learn something that I need to do. So I don't go to other GEDCOM files because I don't need anything else to do. I'm busy. Let's call this Tour 8. Start the import process, and the first thing you do is you upgrade GEDCOM places. This is the last place where you, the user, will need to interact with the import process. I've shown this before, so let's just whiz through it. First, you choose all the places that are the same. I just clicked United States of America. All those strings that are identical turn red. And then you go control click any place that is the same place, but it's a different name. That's going to be those places. When you get all the same place read at the same time, so this place, and this place, all read at the same time, you click next, and that'll all turn gray. We're done with that. Texas, there's only one, so we click that. One name, in other words, for Texas that exists in this database. Oklahoma, there's one of those. Carver County. PI. I know that there's two more of those, so control click the Philippines and control click Philippines. Next. Looking for one specifically where I know there's more than one. Panabo City and Panabo are the same place. Oh, there's a good one. There's a good example. Paris. Now, Paris-Lamar County is in Texas. Paris, France is not. So I'm going to click, not control click, but I'm going to click Paris, France, and it turns black. So it won't be included when we do Paris, Texas, because there's 3 Paris, Texases. I don't want to include Paris, France as if it were the same as Paris, Texas, because it's a different place. Now I can do Paris, France anytime I want. There's 2 Dallases. If I can find the other one. If there's a whole bunch of places, then this might be a little clunky. It can be improved, I suppose. Streamlined, made smaller, something. It's not absolutely essential that I do this perfectly. It's just a demonstration, but I'm showing you the basic idea. There's 2 of those. That's good enough. Now the rest of these places are all unique. There aren't 2 names for anything, so I'm going to go like that. That grays out everything else, and then the Done button becomes available. Now that has no errors, so I can click Add GEDCOM Data to New Tree and then turn off the microphone and wait till it finishes. It'll take a few minutes. Import is finished. All the buttons are grayed out. You will have to restart Treebard if you want to import a second GEDCOM. That's a design feature that is a compromise, let's say, because I didn't have time to figure out how to make it more flexible, but shouldn't be a big problem. We created a tree called Tour 08001. Now we can open that. This is the data that was in rateal.ged, a fictional tree, and that's good enough for now. It shows that it works. Got your names and etc., etc. By the way, I wanted to mention, since GEDCOM export is broken right now, I just wanted to mention it's not a big problem. It's going to be easy to fix, and we're going to fix that in the next video series. It has always worked really well. It works very fast. I also wanted to say, according to, is it Tamura or Tamura Jones? I forget which. According to Tamura, that's a Japanese name, I believe, but he's English. He told me if you want fast GEDCOM import, here's what you do. You do the procedure in memory instead of on disk. Okay, now I'm not much of a programmer. That barely meant anything to me when he said it, but I wrote it down. I thought about it and I looked into it a little bit. And in Python they have a library called pandas, and I believe that's the key to it. So what I do in my GEDCOM program is that I will take the .ged, import it, translate it into a different text file, because the GEDCOM is just a text file. I do a few things, translate it into a different text file, and then I read that text file and translate that into a different text file and save it on the disk. And then I read that and translate it into a different text file and save it on the disk. And that is what slows everything down. Not the fact that you do a little bit at a time. You have to do that or you will lose your mind. You will never finish, because GEDCOM is so inconsistent and unsymmetrical on how it does stuff. You have to do it that way. You can't just go in there and tackle it one line at a time and do everything all at once. That's impossible. The code would never work and never be finished, and no one would ever be able to understand it. But somehow you have to take the notion of doing it in stages, but to do it in memory instead of on disk. In other words, you don't keep saving text files on the disk over and over and over. So I have the slightest idea what else is involved or what that even means, but I do believe that pandas is the key to it. So if you want to make the import faster, then that's the first thing you want to look at, and good luck with that. I'm not concerned with perfecting GEDCOM. That's not my area. I'm concerned with replacing GEDCOM with UniGEDs, which is just the database behind Treebard, where we keep all the primary data, not the secondary data, the primary data. Secondary data, stuff about like charts, output, stuff about the user, stuff about the app, stuff about the vendor. That's saved in different ways, not in UniGEDs, because in order for UniGEDs to replace GEDCOM and work better than GEDCOM, one very important notion is to keep UniGEDs clean. Keep it dealing with primary historical data only. Don't put a bunch of junk in there. That can be exported in a different way, custom from one app to another. But for something universal, because that's what UniGEDs means, a universal genealogy data structure, to have a universal import, you have to stick with primary historical data, because that's what is universal to all genealogy applications. The next little glitch that we had with the tour videos was something that's going to be so easy to fix that I'm just going to fix it right here. I'm going to show you how to do it. That was in Tools. That's the person maker. If we make a person, this is supposed to say birth date, and this death date label is supposed to be down here. So I'm just going to go into the code and fix that. I'm going to show you how to do it. Very easy. I'm guessing, but I believe I'm going to be right. That's called personmaker.py. These are just random names, and this list is public domain. That's why I used it. You can add to it. There's a list of surnames, a list of male names, and a list of female names. We're looking for labels. There's going to be a birth date label, a death date label, and as you can see, we have accidentally gridded the birth label and the death label in the same row. I'm going to predict it. This is now fixed. These two are in row 6, these two are in row 5. Save. There you go. That's fixed now. That was easy. What's next? I wanted to mention, on this person maker, the birth date and death date are funny looking. Why? Because you can copy this formatting, Control C, paste it directly into a date field, Control V. Now it says 1856 April 4 with all these dashes. This is a dash delimited string is what it is. Before the first dash is a place for estimated, about, that sort of thing. Prefixes. This is the year, the month, and the day. Between these two dashes we've got a place for AD, BC, that sort of thing. Epoch, suffixes in other words. Then we've got a place for and or to, so we can indicate a range or span date, and then over here is the second date, just like the first one. That's what all those dashes mean. But I've pasted this in. Oh, look what happened. When I lost focus on that, it automatically formatted to the proper formatting. And that's why the date looks funny on the person maker. This is the format in which dates are stored in the database so that they're all stored in the same way. And then they format according to however you've told TreeBard to format dates. I showed you the name tips already. Over here, Jeremiah has lots of names. Now see, this is what I forgot to show you before. Normally you just see this because somebody normally has one name, but you can give somebody as many names as you want and they can all be different name types. The name tip is very handy because you've got all of his names in one place. He's number 1. There is also all his names. It's a ID number, blah, 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 okay? Why would we want to have a name tip that shows everybody's names? Simple. Let's say all I remember is part of his ID number. You see his ID number, it's got a 976 in it somewhere. Okay. 976, and I can't remember his name. I can't remember any of his names. Oh, that's right, it's Jeremiah. Okay, so if you remember any of his names, any name at all, IMM, then you get the whole thing. You remember somebody's nickname, but you can't remember their real name. That's what the name tips are good for, amongst other things. And something else just occurred to me. If you change, so instead of using his birth name as the display name, you can change that to something else. I didn't show you that already. So I just changed it to Geronimo Grimaldo, I believe. So let's redraw the table. Control F5, and there is the new display name. Okay. But Jeremiah still works. You can still autofill it. You can still change to him. It's already him, but say we change to his father-in-law. Well, that's also his foster father. See, now Jeremiah Grimaldo is the display name. Oh my goodness, look at that. All those names autofill, all of them. But it uses the right display name. Let's change it back to Jeremiah. Control F5. And he's back to using his birth name. Something else about the person search dialog, which I forgot to show you. This is sortable by any column. Okay. Click it once and it's ascending. Click it again and it's descending by the last name. Stanek, Pedrosa, Lumley. Here's another feature that I didn't show you before. What if you got a whole bunch of different people by the same name? If you got 20 people named John Smith, that exact spelling, then it's going to autofill, but TreeBard isn't going to know which John Smith you're talking about. So what happens? Well, in this case, there's only one, so let's solve that problem by making another one. Let's add another John Smith. Now, if this name already exists, a notice will appear. That notice did not appear, and it should have. I'm going to write that on my notes. Okay, John Smith. There's now 2 John Smiths. There you go. Now there is 2 John Smiths. The one we made last time and the one we made this time. Those are 2 completely different people. Let's change to this one, the new guy, 440. There he is. Now we're going to change to the old one, John. You don't have to use any capitalization on these autofills, just type. And now we can change to 435. Okay, that works except for the part where a yellow notice did not appear saying that the name already exists. I don't know why that didn't happen. When you type John Smith here, there, that was supposed to happen. So maybe it's counting only after there's 2 of them. Or maybe it happened because, for example, maybe the list of names was not brought up to date in a timely fashion. I don't know. We'll figure that out in the next series. Here's another simple problem that we can fix right here in this movie. When we open the search dialog, the titles trade. This is the title that's supposed to be on the main tree right here, and this is the title that's supposed to be over here. And that's easy to fix. Let's look for search.py, Control F. Title is the word we're searching for, and T-enter. Self.tree. The self-tree title is not person search. Self-title is person search. This is what it's supposed to say. That's what that's supposed to say. That's fixed. Those are the things that I found while I was editing this series of movies that I had forgotten to mention before. And there may be a few other things, but that's most of it. And if there's anything else I forgot, just let me know and I'll add that to another tour series or another video. So this series is over, and the next series of videos is coming right up. It will be about making TREEBARD yours, up through TREEBARD Development, Chapter 3. And I never thought I was going to change. I'm going to tell you something, and I want you to take this the right way as opposed to the wrong way. Nobody ever wrote to me and said, TREEBARD is a great gift to humanity or anything of that sort. Nobody ever did that, with the exception of the great Tamara Jones and the great Lewis Kessler, who wrote to me and said, I've noticed TREEBARD and it's a worthy project, or whatever it was that they said. I don't remember their exact words, but they seemed fairly enthusiastic and they wanted to discuss it with me a little bit here and there. And I was very flattered and encouraged by this attention. I'm not saying they like everything about TREEBARD. I'm not saying anything about them except that they were nice to me, okay? But as for the regular Joes who are following this project, because there's a blog and I know how many people look at it when I post new code. Lots of people look at it when I post new code. Those folks have not come out of the woodwork to say boo or anything else. Thanks or pat me on the head. So it's not like anybody's being punished for ignoring me. I don't need the attention. But I also haven't gotten any reason to continue making the code totally free, especially considering that the version of the code that's on the website now is a perfectly good place to start. And if you don't want to make a donation to get the very latest exe and the very latest source code, that's up to you. It's not a problem. You can still use what's on the website. But if you do want to get the very latest exe and the very latest source code, then I will send you a link. if you send me a donation. So that's about all I wanted to say. TreeBard is switching gears. I'm in retirement. I'm not going to be working on TreeBard full time, but I am going to make one more series of movies called Making TreeBard Yours, in which I will fix the problems that I found while I was editing this series of demonstration movies, the tour video. Okay, so I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for dropping by, and it's nice to have you, even if I don't know who you are. Thanks for showing up. Bye-bye.